I'd been thinking for a while that FMVs had been looking terrible, and I just looked in the settings menu, and I was like, white balance, cloudy. That is not what I wanted. I had just been assuming for a long time that the sensor wasn't great, and I was filming under super low light conditions under fluorescent lights. Um, but no. Pixie recently got a Galaxy S4 Play Edition, which we talk about some in today's Nerd Talk, which will not be posted today. Um, but that one, Pixie was looking through all the settings because she came from an iPhone which did not have the option to set white balance, and she was excited about the fact that it was there. And her joy about the fact that that menu option existed caused me to think, you know, FMV has been looking terrible lately, and maybe it shouldn't. There's a reason that it's looking that terrible. Like, that's not. I should look into that. Of course, as soon as I decided to look into it, the solution was obvious. But, yeah. I just got my first paycheck to actually clear, and you might have heard me say previously that I had received that paycheck, and that's true. And I was able to deposit it immediately using USAA's Deposit at Mobile phone deposit feature, which I had a little difficulty at one point with that because it needs super high contrast between the check and the background. So it was kind of a gray check that I was trying to deposit, and I was doing it on a darker background, but not like a black background. And putting it on like a real black background made it deposit much easier. But I did that. I deposited immediately, but only $500 worth of the $2,800 included in the check actually were immediately available. So now the rest of it is available, and I have two big purchases on my mind. A lot of that is going to go towards paying some credit card, not debt, but revolving debt that had not yet accrued any interest or anything. But some of that I would like to put towards either cardio equipment or a bed, because those are both things that are definitely going to exist in this apartment at some point, but don't exist right now. For cardio equipment, I'm thinking likely an elliptical trainer, because they are probably the most effective cardio training you can get in a small space. The other option I'm considering is a recumbent bicycle, because you can... those are best suited towards doing other things while being on them. Like if you're working on a novel, or on a video game if you're coding or something, or editing a video. Oh my god, editing a video probably from a recumbent bicycle makes a ton of sense, because there's a lot of downtime in editing a video where literally the work you are doing is watching the video to see where problems exist and what needs to be fixed. And so, but you have to be able to stop at a moment's notice, so it's like not non-interactive. You couldn't do that part of it while driving a car or walking around or stuff, because, man, there is a light switch in the bedroom here, and there's this plate where a ceiling fan / light fixture would go, but there's not actually a light fixture, so it's like, I'll flip this light switch, but it doesn't do anything. But you can't edit a video while doing the other activities that I normally do parallel with passive activities like listening to podcasts. Because you need to be able to pause the video and deal with that edit at that point, and then go back to the passive activity at a moment's notice. So a recumbent bicycle, you're sitting in a chair, and if you need to dedicate your brain to a thing, and it actually takes a surprising amount of executive function to dedicate your brain towards keeping your muscles working in, like, high-intensity environments. So you can stop pedaling and then do a thing, and then go back to pedaling. And, like, once you actually have this equipment, you don't necessarily need to use it at a super high intensity and a super high rate to make it a good value proposition. Like, even a relatively low duty cycle of this equipment at a very consistent pace, if it's like every day, and you get like 30 minutes of good pedaling out of a 6-hour afternoon, then that is a great value proposition. So Pixie is going to school for her final semester of her bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism. And that costs money. And so, student loan paperwork. I really just want to speak super frankly on these things, but I it's a little hard to know what I should speak frankly about and what I shouldn't. Um, anyway, the student loans paperwork is in the process for that. We've completed a master promissory note and sent that off, and we're waiting for some sort of feedback from some agency, whether it's the school or the government or somebody. Um, and I'm a little anxious for no good reason. I mean, there's plenty of other ways to deal with this situation, and I'm quite confident that it will actually pan out. But it's like there's an open loop of this may require further action on our part, and we're not exactly sure when that further action is required. That's on my mind. Pixie got an S4, which I've actually re-recorded this video a couple of times, so I don't know how much I've told you about that so far, but she is thinking about doing FMV, and I'm very excited about that because I'm more interested in actually watching this content than consuming it, or I'm more interested in consuming this content than creating it. I merely create it as sort of a session to the fact that somebody has to make it in order for me to watch it, and I just want to contribute it. I just want to live in this ecosystem symmetrically. Because maybe some things I do are interesting to somebody who's not me. Certainly, well, I've gone over this topic in detail, but I must have been watching a lot of MangaPod recently because I had a dream last night that included the MangaPod people. Yokorama, Dr. Daza, Happy Lee Aaron. I don't know why I would transpose those two names. And most importantly, Dodger. Just featured prominently in this relatively nonsensical dream where I had like a log cabin in the forest where we were... Because Dodger was moving lately, like that was in her vlogs, and somehow I was like moving boxes of stuff. Vague. Dreams are weird because the plotting of it made no sense, but there was a lot of emotions tied up into it, which were just like random electrical signals that I really wish I could communicate using language, particularly communicate to Pixie, but like you can't communicate just random electrical noise in your brain that doesn't mean anything, even though it feels important. It's just, and I know that this is just a sensation caused by electrical noise. It's like, I had this dream that I want to communicate, and there's nothing doing. Incidentally, Sleepbot seems like a super cool thing. I've never used it before. Pixie used to use on her iPhone an app called Sleep Cycle that did a thing similar to Sleepbot, which is that it uses accelerometers in the microphones to sort of form a composite index over the course of the night of how alert you are and how asleep you are, so that you can sort of judge your REM cycles. And Sleepbot does the same thing, and because she found it searching the App Store, actually, because she mentioned that she wanted a comparable app, and I searched for that on the App Store. Not that I did any great feat in doing that, but it just happened to inspire me to look, and oh, look, it's right there in front of me as soon as I bothered to look. And it seems cool, so I'm going to try it tonight.